My name is Sarah Khatib, and I am the president and founder of Destination Downtown. Tonight, we are pleased to share with the community the actionable project-based recovery plan for downtown. In just a few minutes, you'll hear from Philip Schafing, senior planner and urban designer with Stantec, a global design firm. Phil has served as Walpole's plan facilitator and will go over some of what we've learned during the process, the prioritize actionable projects, and the next steps in implementing some of those projects. After Phil's presentation, you'll hear from Patrick Deschaines. Patrick is Walpole's Community and Economic Development Director, and then we'll hold a short question and answer session. All of us are available to answer questions and listen to the community beyond tonight, so please do feel free to reach out. I am here with the nonprofit Destination Downtown. We are a volunteer-based, community-led organization. Our mission is to revitalize downtown Walpole by creating a welcoming place where people want to spend their time. We are working with local leaders and organizations to bring cultural events, aesthetic improvements, and business resources to our downtown area. Destination Downtown is a relatively new organization forming in the summer of 2019. Just as we were getting off the ground, the pandemic hit. And as you all know, our community, our businesses, and our downtown experienced numerous challenges as a result of COVID-19. When the Baker-Polito administration announced the Rapid Recovery Program at the end of 2020 as an opportunity for organizations and municipalities to develop project-based recovery plans for downtowns that were tailored to the economic challenges and impacts from COVID-19, Destination Downtown sprang into action and began working with town officials to apply for the program. We saw the program as an opportunity to address the economic impacts from COVID-19, but also as an opportunity to plan for strategic investments in downtown Walpole's long-term growth. We know that realistically, improving our downtown will require funding. And we recognize that our prospects for securing the necessary funding will be greatly enhanced if we have the data to demonstrate the need and we have well-designed plans based on expert guidance. The Rapid Recovery Program from DHCD incredibly offered these resources and the very real possibility of matching communities with funding sources. And we are very thankful in Walpole to be one of the selected communities of the Rapid Recovery Program. So without further delay, I'd like to introduce Phil Schafing. Phil, our plan facilitator, and he will tell you about our recovery plan. Phil?
Thank you very much, Sarah, and good evening, everyone. My name is Phil Schafing. I'm a senior planner and urban designer with Stantec, and very excited to be serving as the plan facilitator for Walpole's rapid recovery planning process. Tonight, I want to begin with just a brief overview of the program. Sarah hit a lot of the high points, but then really focus on the project recommendations that we've been developing over the last several months. And it's been a great process of working with both the town and Destination Downtown, speaking with property and business owners, and beginning to really develop a framework of plans and improvements for the downtown that will build on the success of the businesses that are here today and extend that success into the future. And so with that, we'll get started with the presentation here, and I look forward to hearing any comments you may have as we go. So we can skip to the next slide here. So to begin with just a quick overview of the LRRP project as we go to the next slide. Sarah had mentioned that this is a statewide program with the goal of developing recovery plans that are tailored to the specific challenges that downtowns across Massachusetts have faced during COVID-19. This is offered through a planning grant from the Department of Housing and Community Development. There's a lot of information available on the website if you'd like to learn more about the program. Walpole is one of 120 communities across Massachusetts that are participating in this program. And it's a great opportunity to learn about some of the shared challenges, as well as share resources and best practices on ways to move forward out of the pandemic. The study area that Walpole identified for this is the downtown stretching along Main Street, and it corresponds to the central business district in the town zoning code. So this includes the MBTA commuter rail station, the businesses along Main Street stretching from the Common up to the CVS shopping plaza, and the businesses and the residences in that area. This is an example of one of the many things that Destination Downtown has been working on since their inception. This is an artist-created map of the downtown that separately highlights a number of the businesses here. So this is a great example of the work that they're doing to promote the businesses that are here, as well as encourage people to come and visit and spend time. The rapid recovery plan that we've been developing over the last several months has been carefully coordinated with a lot of the work that the town has already done and other organizations. Most recently, the Parking and Economic Development Plan in 2018, and currently the town is working to implement a Shared Streets and Spaces grant downtown. So there's a lot of exciting work that we're building from. And this rapid recovery plan is really a continuation of that with a particular focus on downtown. So we've been conducting a 3-phase planning process through this grant, which began in the spring with a diagnostic phase. And we were here virtually presenting to the community in late May, the findings of that diagnostic, and pointed out a lot of the different impacts of COVID. One example is how outdoor dining became really the lifeline for restaurants downtown and very popular with residents, and having to adapt that to the physical environment of Main Street. There are narrow sidewalks for the most part, not a lot of space. And so the dining that's there today really had to make the most of that limited space. Over the summer in phase 2, we started to develop our project recommendations. And another great feature of this RRP program is the opportunity to work with subject matter experts. And so we had 3 of those assigned to Walpole to help us with 3 of our project recommendations to consider some best practices from other areas and just further develop that. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later. And then our final phase here, developing our draft plan to submit the final plan to DHCD in early October. And from there, the implementation phase really begins with going after the funding that Sarah mentioned. So from here, I'd like to jump into some of the project recommendations that we've developed. So if we skip through the next couple of slides here, the projects that we are recommending fall into one of these 6 categories here. Focusing on the public and the private realm, which are the physical things that you see downtown. Then revenue and sales and tenant mix, which is the particular focus on small businesses downtown. And then finally, administrative capacity and culture and arts. Administrative being the kind of nuts and bolts of how things get done downtown, whether that's zoning or permitting. And then culture and arts, which really brings everything to life and help gives downtown its character. So the first set of projects that we'll review briefly fall into the public realm and private realm category. And so our first one is a focus on pedestrian corridors downtown. So if we go to the next slide, the first set of corridors that we're looking at are thinking about connections through downtown, particularly from the MBTA station to Main Street. It's about a 5-minute walk there, but both signage is really non-existent, and the sidewalks and the walking paths are very narrow, and being next to busy traffic, not always the most attractive walking environment. And so wanting to take a closer look at those and hope to make improvements to make that connection, to encourage people who are taking the train to come downtown and maybe stop for a coffee in the morning, pick up a bite to eat on their way home in the evening, but really emphasize how close the two are, and really encourage people to appreciate how walkable downtown is. The next project here has a particular focus on Main Street, this really being the business core of downtown, and how the streets and the sidewalks support the businesses that are there, and in some cases today don't always do that very well. So taking a look at the physical space that is there, the amount that's given over to cars, the amounts that is reserved for pedestrians and bicyclists, and thinking about if there's a different way to balance those users. And this is particularly interesting because this is a street with a lot of different uses and demands on it, including the fire department and emergency access. And so, thinking creatively about how to continue some of the great work and thinking that's been done with some of the outdoor dining downtown today, but thinking what's the next step here? How can we continue to improve the pedestrian experience, pedestrian safety here, and just visually make it a more interesting and attractive place to walk? And our third public realm project is taking better advantage of the spectacular green space in the heart of downtown, the town common, building on some of the additions that were made during COVID-19, the picnic tables and benches to encourage people to gather outside and to eat together. But thinking about other additions that could support events, things like outdoor speaker systems, public Wi-Fi to encourage people to spend time there, and other ideas as well, interactive features, publicly accessible fitness equipment, or play equipment for children. So several different ideas here, but really continuing to improve this as an important place for the community to gather. And then an important private realm project is a program to help business owners and property owners improve the building facades, the individual business storefronts, as well as business signage along Main Street. And this was one of the things that we noticed as we were, walking around downtown, is that a number of the businesses, their signage is really oriented more for cars. It's typically flat up against the building. And so as a pedestrian, when you're walking down the street, if you look ahead of you, you don't see any signage telling you that there's a great shop 3 doors down or a restaurant just a little further. It's not until you get right up next to it. And so there are other approaches to signage that hang out over the sidewalk that a lot of downtowns and main streets adopt. That's a great way to appeal to pedestrians. And so this program would help businesses to make those signage improvements, improve their storefronts to be more attractive and put their merchandise on display, as well as building improvements as well. And so that's a really important part to the physical character and the visual appeal of downtown. The next set of projects that we will review fall really under small business assistance, looking at ways to help out with revenue and sales and the tenant mix downtown. And the first one is to develop a technical assistance program available to downtown retail and restaurants that's really about finding ways to help them reduce their costs, increase their sales, and streamline their operation. And so there's two primary elements to this. The main one really is sales and marketing assistance. So this would be the type of program where a business owner could work with a third-party consultant who is an expert in small business development and sales and marketing, to take a look at what they have, their website, their online sales, the systems that they use in the store, and give them advice on improvements that could be made, or connect them with vendors to help reduce their operational costs. And so these are kind of the nuts and bolts of operating small businesses, but things that can be the difference between staying in business and having to close. The next project is a wayfinding and branding system for downtown. Downtown, as we were walking around and been talking with people, there's often a perception that parking is kind of hard to find because it is tucked behind buildings on Main Street, which is actually exactly where you want parking in walkable downtowns. And there is signage for it, but it tends to be kind of small and get lost in the environment. And so this program or this process would develop a uniform wayfinding system downtown to help direct visitors both to parking, but also to business areas and attractions. And so this is another way of supporting small businesses by helping people feel comfortable coming downtown, even if they haven't been here a while or they're not, they may be visiting from out of town, not familiar, to feel confident that they can find parking, find the businesses they're looking for, and enjoy their time here. And the final project in this group is taking a look at the mix of businesses downtown, and particularly the opportunities with vacant storefronts to really develop a targeted recruitment program focused on businesses that have active storefronts. And when I say that, think about restaurants or retail shops that have, interesting things to buy on display. Those types of businesses really encourage people to window shop if they're coming downtown for dinner, to spend 10 minutes walking up and down Main Street to see what's there, and is a really important part of the mix downtown. And today, as we look at the mix, the number of those types of businesses is probably smaller than a lot of other downtowns and main streets. And so taking advantage of the vacant storefronts that are here to begin to fill those with more active, interesting storefronts. And then the final group of projects fall under cultural and arts and administrative capacity. And the first one, going back again to parking, is about improving the connections between public parking lots and Main Street. There are several alleys, if we go to the next slide here, several alleys that exist today that provide those connections, but they're very utilitarian, they're not attractive, they're certainly not anything that calls attention to themselves. But a number of places have taken these alley opportunities and turned them into really interesting spaces for public art, whether those are murals created by local artists or people in the community, creative lighting, and sometimes that's neon or LED lighting, so you have different colors or things that can change over time. Seating, landscaping, a number of different things that turn these from, kind of plain bare spaces into a place that can really kind of tell the story of Walpole and make people excited and interested to come to see what the latest mural is or what the new lighting design is. And so these are, I think, really interesting placemaking and character opportunities for downtown. And the next program here is to just build on the existing program and events that happen downtown to expand that calendar, give people more reasons to come downtown, whether that's for an outdoor fitness class or a family event happening on the Common or a business networking event outside, live music. A number of those things happen on the Common today, but there's an opportunity to do more of that, give people more reasons to keep coming downtown. And all of that, those visitors spend time in the restaurants, stop into the shops, support the businesses here. And so that's a really important part of helping the businesses downtown to recover from the last year and a half. And then our last two projects here, first, this is, again, I mentioned at the beginning, kind of the nuts and bolts of how things get done downtown, the zoning and the permitting process. To take a look at those, kind of do an audit of the regulations to see if what is required in the zoning is really encouraging the type of development that we want to see here. And that can facilitate the improvement process and the development process for property and business owners. And flexibility, I think, in the ability to quickly adapt is something that COVID really highlighted in the last 18 months. And then finally, as a steward of downtown, an advocate for downtown, Destination Downtown is an organization that, as Sarah said, is just, has been around a couple of years. and opportunities to expand their capacity to continue developing the relationships with local businesses will help them, advocate for the businesses, work together with the town, help expand programming and some of these other things that we've talked about, all of which, supports a successful downtown. As you look at a lot of the places that, we think of as great main streets or great downtowns, almost all of them have some type of strong organization like this behind them. And so it's really important to be able to support the work they do and help them identify resources for that. So that is the list of projects that we've developed over this process. I want to pause and just see if there are any questions about these. But we think that this is a great framework for the town and Destination Downtown to move forward with, to make the best use of the opportunities that we have in terms of funding, but also people seeing outdoor dining for the first time last year and really realizing how much that can improve downtown, to really seize that moment and continue building on the strengths of downtown. So with that, are there any questions and comments on this list of projects? And if not, then I will move to just our last section, which is kind of what's next. And so quickly here, as I mentioned, the final rapid recovery plan for downtown will be submitted in early October. And then from there, we've been working closely with Destination Downtown and the town on this process. And so to carry that forward, and then most importantly, to be able to identify and apply for funding as that becomes available. So an important part of the report is identifying potential funding sources, whether those are federal funds through the American Rescue Plan Act, Commonwealth funds through various programs that the state has today, grant opportunities, foundations. There's a number of different funding opportunities, many of them competitive. And so, applying for those funding and then as they're secured, to carry out the project. So those are really the next steps for this. And I think a great opportunity for the town to work on these projects, both some immediately and some over the next several years. So as we mentioned, if you have any additional questions or comments, you can reach out to us. There is also a link that we'll get to in just a little bit, online survey that will be available as well. But with that, I want to thank you for your time. Turn it over to Pat for some closing words.
Thank you, Phil. Many thanks to both Phil and obviously Sarah for this entire process. I think we've put together a pretty good plan. A lot of work went into the research and and just looking at the different options that we can do for the downtown. Right now, the next step really is taking these action items and what we've learned and putting it to work and putting it to reality. Looking for grant funding. Both that's what's available and then what will be available, hopefully as a result of this project. So, looking forward to realistically the next steps going forward and making these projects a reality. So, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Pat. And if we can put the presentation back up on the screen and just advance one or two more slides. Yep, that direction, to the open house. So for those of us who have joined us in person, we have a series of posters up around the room with a little bit more information on each of these projects. You can take a look at those. We have some dot stickers available, and you can just leave those on the 3 projects that you think are most important for the future of downtown. And we also have a comment card if you have any additional questions. And for those who are online or viewing this afterwards, if we go to the next slide, there is an online survey that you can fill out as well that asks the same questions to take a look at the projects, identify the top 3 that you think are most important, and then let us know if you have any other thoughts. So that will be available until next Friday, October 1st. And this presentation and the link will also be published on the Community and Economic Development webpage on the Town of Walpole website, so you can find it there as well. So we look forward to hearing from you, and we look forward to seeing all the success and projects that Walpole will be carrying out here. So thank you very much for your time. Have a good night.